Guys, sorry for the little bit of the long wait. I'm here. I'm making Let's Play Part 11. Yeah, and I'm only doing one stream every day. The only reason why I delayed a few days of complete stream time uh was for reasons of pressure, and some of that pressure for that first day. That I made that one whole Let's Play, because I made one whole Let's Play, which is the 10th part of the stream, because it was when I already had that pressure. So yeah, and I still probably have some of that pressure still there. It's just it's not fully developed pressure, even though it probably is, but I'm not aware of it. Yeah, woohoo! Laying on my bed. Alrighty. And it's not social media. It's the things that you hear political wise and reality and stuff and as well. So there's two reasons, but it's not like really it's not fully a life thing, but also somewhat of a life thing. It's just mostly the pressure of you thinking how the world is becoming to a point where you have to focus on healing yourself and then focus on the things you need to that you want to do, not the things you need to do, the things that you usually want to do. You have to focus on reality. So instead of focusing on the things you really want to do, but you can still focus on the things you usually want to do, there's nothing against that. But if you're feeling to a point of pressure and you feel like you need to focus on healing yourself and focus on only yourself, even though there'll be times where you'll focus on healing yourself, but you wouldn't really focus on yourself, like in certain ways. So like if you have to basically focus on the things you need to do to help yourself, there'll be certain things that you won't really focus on that is to help yourself, like hygiene, nutrition. And let me tell you guys right now, I have been somewhat eating here and there, but like I haven't focused too much on controlling certain amounts of those nutrition. Like every afternoon, I'll just have like 3 slices of cheese. That's good for the calcium, right? But then I usually have like a sweet, spicy hot sauce that I usually mix in. And so because of like what's in hot sauce, right? Like iron. So you have too much iron, but mostly because you usually somewhat have it in afternoon and night, but you don't really have any breakfast, right? That's something that's somewhat of what I'm doing that somewhat usually harms myself, right? So then that pressure can still take a hold of me a lot easier. But there are times where if I do have one whole full type of that nutrition, I try to focus on a secondary nutrition, vitamin C, because I have a little bit too much of the iron with the hot sauce, which I do put a little bit of that sugar in there to make it like sweet and spicy. And so because of me having two different things too many times, but not like every whole few minutes or every hour. No, I usually have it like if I use sweet and spicy hot sauce for like something, it's only gonna be in the afternoon and later in the day. But still, that later in the day and that early in the afternoon, like it could be through 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon that you take it, what you eat there. But the thing is, you're eating it at the end of, like, later in the day. It don't have to be in the end of the day. It could be one of the two, later in the day or the end of the day. Because you're still eating something that is somewhat too much. And you're eating it the first day, the second day. You're eating that whole week. So let's say you just want to make something simple. And you're just eating it afternoon and later in the day. It didn't matter. That's happening 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, and so on. So, yeah, I'm somewhat decent because at least I eat something, but there are things where I overdo it because I'm eating it each day that comes up. But my dad is making something that is better than what I usually eat non-stop. So I'm gonna eat some beef steak. My dad is gonna eat some too. And so that's something I have a chance to, switch around. My dad hasn't really been eating a lot. He's only eaten like one thing in that one day. And he'll eat a little bit of something in that one day later in the day, right? He eats in the morning, but he don't eat enough, right? Me, I eat something, but I don't eat it every whole one day. I don't eat it every 24 hours. I don't eat 24 hours a day like I used to do way back then. Last year I probably ate somewhat too much. This year I do eat somewhat, but it's somewhat good, but too much of it, right? So yeah. So there are times where I'm not even able to focus on my hygienes, and people would say, gross. But here's the thing: there are quite a significant amount of people that usually somewhat goes through that point in life where there are some things they don't really have the chance to focus on and some people usually have no chance to focus on their hygiene because of the same type of similar stress. Others, they have a decent amount of focus to do certain things because some people usually know how to deal with that stress. Others, there are some really large amounts who don't really have enough focus because of stress. Others do. So you have a big amount and a big amount, right? A big amount of people who take in the stress and still have the focus they need. But you also have a large amount of people, like the large amount of people that exist that can take on that stress. Other large amount of people somewhat goes through those things. And sometimes even when they get help, it usually doesn't help either. And some people that get help, like, it helps. But it depends on the person and the way that person is born and how much pressure and stress that person goes through. And yeah, I'm not saying that I go through a lot more pressure than others. We all somewhat go through that same amount of pressure to a point where a lot of majority of us can't really focus on the tasks we need to do to take care of ourselves in an everyday life. Because when you get to that point of age, it don't matter if you're 34, 20, it could go up and up with your age and still have that same feeling, right? Because it depends on how the person takes that stress and pressure of the reality they live in. And yeah, this is coming from someone like me who never took things like that seriously at all. It's like they say, you do have people from the Christian religion who actually takes their religion seriously, and then you have the majority of people who takes it seriously in their own way but misleads it and abuses it somewhat to use it as an excuse by saying, "Oh, God rains upon you because you have done a crime and you have done a criminal action." But then that person never had a crime or criminal action. And then they make an excuse by putting God upon the whole country and the whole world. Because, other countries come here to make a living and then they kick out those people. Why? Oh, they're poor. They're the devil. Just because they're country folk who make a citizenship here and they're not really immigrants because they became a citizen here. And also they put religion upon people as an excuse because of their gender, because of their relationship. Why? The real religion is not to abuse the power to say just because the other person is a different relationship or different gender and make something to talk about those people because they're different. If you haven't noticed, I did made a one when I was streaming one time and uploaded that stream as a video. In that one stream, I did look up the things about Christian. Love thy neighbor. What does that mean? Respect the people around you. Respect your neighbor, right? You have to treat people equally, not differently. And some people are using their Christian as a way to abuse it and make excuses. See, I have friends who are Christian, but they don't do what these people do in the United States here in New York. No. And you have a majority of people in New York who are Christian and then mislead it and say, just because that person is different, you're a devil? You're a devil's work? Dude. Yeah, if you want to look at one of my streams that I uploaded where I say that the majority of people abuse religion for Christian, abuse Christian their own religion. But it's just saying people abuse their own religion, right? But if you think about it, both sides, even Catholic people, they somewhat will mislead that religion too. What has J.D. Vance been doing? He has misled the religion that he took in. So he started off Christian. He abused that religion. He has misled it to a point where he's forced to change it by saying as an excuse, right? Oh, I just want to change my ways. By what? Changing to Catholic? Dude. So, you say you want to change your ways by changing to Catholic, because that's what he did by asking the Pope so he could change his religion to Catholic. But why did he change his religion really? Not really for the sake of improving his own self, to tarnish the next religion.
You must work a lot.
Damn. And if you think of it, religion was usually just considered a political thing, right? But now it's something much more. But here's the thing. The past of religion wasn't really, it wasn't too much of a bright thing, but in a way it was. But in a way it has its dark sides, right? Because of the guy who gave the orders to hang Jesus in the cross, right? Because Jesus, he was terrified of Jesus. He was afraid that Jesus could lead a lot of people back then, right? And so he got hanged in the cross because the guy who was a Roman, how you call it, a Roman general or whatever, the guy who was making it where people from back then, Jews, when Jesus was around, this Roman general was afraid because the Jewish people would turn against him. Not against their own kind, right? Against him. And yeah, those people were considered Italians. But compared to back then, we have a whole world where a lot of the majority of different country people, even Italians, they do not like what the other side is doing. So they may have some Italians that exist that are somewhat just usually like Trump or like Putin, who are just really bad people who don't know how to use the power in the right way. Instead they abuse it, right? Because think about it, you're gonna have all these different countries that will have someone bad who would try to get a win to become a leader in other countries. But that don't mean they're stupid, right? They're very intelligent. They know that we have a relationship not just as the state itself alone, but as other countries with with the show that we know that we're the ally of that state, right? But can the leader of the United States usually make it to where other countries will no longer trust us to a point where we have to build that relationship up? Yes. Will it take a long time to build that relationship? Yeah, of course. Because that is just what the history of the United States is. That's what it is, right? We didn't just became the United States by being the United States. We didn't become a United Nation by just moving that straightforward path. No! We had to work for that relationship. And the things they say that if you try to search up certain things about the way Trump is doing, depending on which way you search it on your phone, it'll go one way or the other, right? You'll have one source of resources that'll mislead you. So if you look up, there'll be certain information about the things that he's done. One side will say he's doing good, right? But then you tweak it around the way you search it. And you're still searching it the same way, but you're searching it from a different angle. You're tweaking it up the way you search it, right? And it's still the same way. It's just, it sounds a little bit different, but it's still the same. And this time you will find that truth. But the way they tell the truth, like, if you search up that if the President of the United States this year, Trump, right, if he has committed fraudulent activity, right, you say it the straightforward, right? They'll put it as in, well, there is no exact evidence that the President Donald Trump has had any fraudulent activity. But if you search it where is Congress seeing the things that Trump do in 2026 as a president, that he did some fraudulent stuff and committed sexual abuse? They'll say that, well, and this is the truth, okay? This is gonna have that truth because they'll try and say something to make it sound like it's not the truth, but it's the truth, okay? You'll know that it's the truth. They'll say, well, Congress and senators and House of Representatives are saying that Trump has committed all this stuff, right? They'll say, well, if, right? Because they're trying to make it where they're able to put the truth out, but not in a way where one side can just, put it on them so they can understand that they are trying to put that truth. One side will put the truth in a form where it's like a riddle, to a point where it's not a hard riddle, right? You can see that those are things that Trump would do. So the way they put it is that, well, that even though they said it, right? Because they try to, that one side who is saying it, right, to put it there, to make it where it says, well, if, right? That is meaning that it is. And so, even though there are people who are just full-on Trump supporters, which are MAGA people who just fully support the president, but mislead about the other side, right? But then you have some people who were MAGA supporters and only supported Trump and hated the other side, who came to realize, and the people that usually came to realize are either people who are different gender, who was supporting him and going against that other people's side, right? But then realized, even the women who are mothers, who used to be completely MAGA, are now starting to become someone that is starting to realize. And that's something good, people learning the truth. It's something that is meant to be a thing. People are meant to find out that truth and start to feel like they are being misled because they are right to feel that way. And in a way, they are, when people have to feel the way they're misled, even though it's right, they're gonna feel like they have done something wrong. And they have done nothing wrong. They just gotten to a point where someone who has misled them and guided them somewhat of the misleading path of the information of what the United States is based off. They didn't really do nothing. It's just the person that they usually get involved with in a relationship. And it could be another woman, it could be another guy. So a guy could be with a woman or a woman could be with a guy. Depending on the way the person supports the state, being misled by the person you're in a relationship in general, because you're always going to have a lot of majority of women and a lot of majority of men who would usually mislead the person that they're in a relationship with, and usually have a record or reputation where that they have done other things, right? Cheat on another woman or cheat on another man. So that's just how reality is, right? That's just how the wonders of this world works. You're gonna have people that will lead you the right direction to let you know the truth, but you also have a lot of people that also mislead you by using the truth to mislead you. That's something that there's a lot of both sides, right? You have a lot of good people and a lot of bad people in this world in general. Some people will mislead you with that truth, but some people will actually lead you to the actual truth. It's crazy, right? And then you have someone like Hassan Piker. I know I'm mentioning this, and I know it's probably a risky move, even though someone like me, who have disabilities, and Hassan Piker would just probably call any person who knows the truth or have disabilities all knowing the truth. If you are someone with slight autism but other multiple disabilities that are, one of them is fully up there, right? Your ADHD is fully up there. Meaning it's not something that will make you a complete autistic person. It'll just make you somewhat different, right? People, regardless, are different, even when they're disability wise or identify wise. They look different, regardless. So, someone like Hassan, if someone puts the truth out about him, saying that he misleads every person when it comes to politics, he'll call that person who has disabilities or that person who doesn't really have disabilities and call them a retard. And then when he's reacting to your video that you post from the stream, he'll say, huh, he's a retard because he's pure evil. That's what he calls Asmongold in some ways, pure evil. But he didn't call Asmongold a retard, did he? Maybe the way he says it doesn't seem that way, but the way he's saying it is kind of meaning that certain direction, right? And then he talks about, God put us all in this world for a reason. For what? To support terrorism? Dude, you're supporting Israel by saying on your stream that you think that they should improve their drones by making explosive drones to fight against the side who is fighting for their lives. You don't say by saying you support terrorism and say that one side needs to both kill each other. You're saying that that war still has to continue. For what? Jesus, guy, that's your own people, Israel. And if you think about it, Palestinians are still that same nationality. They're just known as Palestinians, right? They're known as something else, but they're still known as that same thing. Palestinians are basically the descent, or not really the descent. I would say the people who existed before Jews, right? They are basically the type of race, the type of people that has done the religion before the Israelis, the Jews that exist now. And then the Jews that exist now abuse and mislead their own leadership of religion. So Netanyahu, he's misleading that religion and also abusing it. Even though they don't say in the internet when you search it up that he's abusing or misleading, because he has his beliefs in his own style of religion, but it's not a good way. Or maybe it is, it's just maybe Trump is just misleading him entirely as a leader. It could be one way or the other. There's no information of the way Netanyahu is misleading or abusing. But if you search it that other direction, oh yeah, you'll eventually find that truth about Netanyahu. Even though he may not look like he's abusing or misleading his religion. But if you think about it, how did the Jews become misleading? Back then, during Jesus' time being around, leading the Jews to the righteous path of religion, where he was leading he was leading his own people, even though they weren't really his own people. They thought of him as one of their own, right? He was a rabbi, a leader, someone of the highest, in a way, rank, but through kindness. When you're a rabbi, that just shows that you're close to them, right? And that's the truth. What is Jesus known as to those people of Jews in the way back when he used to lead, when he was actually alive, before he got hanged up in that cross? He was considered somewhat that some Jews just literally saw him as something important. He was someone important. Even though he was different, he was unique, he had secret, hidden miracle powers, right? He can heal the heart and the wounds of a person, not just mentally, but physically. He's done miracles, right? But the thing that people use to head a different direction with the religion, and they don't want to say it, Netanyahu doesn't have, we don't have the information, but we see the way Jews have to go through by being misled by Netanyahu. And he don't want to say it, right? And someone like Hassan Piker will say, oh, you're wrong. I think Netanyahu is very good and religious man. Did you even meet the guy? No, I never met the guy, but I know a lot of shit that he's done with his own people. So Hassan Piker doesn't really know Netanyahu, but he met the mayor, Mamdani. And here's the thing, when Mamdani was first put by the Democrats to become a mayor, and at first, when he first started off as a mayor, he was good. Mayor Mamdani was good in the beginning. But like Eric Adams, Mamdani has been bribed. He has been paid to earn, to Trump to earn his respect, right? By corrupting people through money. So there's no information that leads to it, but in some ways it does, right? Because if you think about it, some people have seen things that they believe in, and this is the truth. Because, when people say things like there's conclusions that lead to where Eric Adams has been bribed to Trump because Trump paid him, and that corrupted Eric Adams to a point where Eric Adams is now in his side, in Trump's side. What happened with Mamdani? The same thing could be happening, but in a way, Mamdani could be using him. But in a way, they're both heading that bad path, right? So even though Mamdani could be looking like he's somewhat bad, but he could be worse. And this is a guy who is a Democratic and is now supporting the things Trump does and also learning from Trump, right? How to do the things he do. But the thing is, he has already looked like he's just supporting Trump. Even though he's a Democratic, he has gotten close to Trump. And the things he has already done for the sake of Trump. He has already screwed up his reputation on the Democratic side. And he was a student that learned the same way of politician, but now is abusing it. But Mamdani learned the ways of what he learned through Bernie Sanders. And yeah, Bernie Sanders is doing more right than Mamdani. How? Well, for one of the few things, Bernie Sanders is not really abusing the things he has learned that he's trying to fix and help the Democratic side fix. Mamdani is using that knowledge that he ended up learning from Bernie Sanders to just take advantage of it by helping Trump. You don't do that, man. You don't use the knowledge you have been given by one teacher who is someone important who helps improve the United States by helping his own colleagues, and then use the knowledge of the teacher that helps that and abuse it. You abuse the knowledge the guy has taught you things of. Why? Why? Because of one president who, how you say it, piques interest to you, even though you're with the good side, you're now abusing it. And I'm not saying that only Democrats are considered good. You have a majority of Republicans that are actually good because they actually don't like what their leader is doing. Their boss is doing them, right? So that leads to a conclusion that if the Democrats win the House of Representatives, there is no doubt about it, they are going to have that complete chance of success. Why? Because you have a majority, even though they're not, well, I feel like the majority of Republicans who are against the way this leader is doing things with tariffs and everything else, the way he's handling this situation with Iran, you have a really decent amount of Republicans. Though even when you search in the internet, they'll say something that really fully misleads you, right? But then when you search it the other way around, they're like, well, okay, there is information spraying, word spraying, that there are a majority of Republicans who start to leave the way Trump is doing things, but not fully leave the Republican side. They're just going against each other. So you got Republicans who are just leaving other Republicans, but they're still Republicans. It's just they don't like the way the other side of Republicans are handling things. So you got a really good amount of Republicans who do not like what Trump is doing and usually don't like to continue the way Trump is doing things. But you have a few Republicans that still exist in the side of Trump who still supports Trump's agenda. But they're not a lot, like the amount who is disagreeing, who do not support the things Trump is doing. Even though they support their own side, Republicans, but they don't like the way Trump is doing it. So they don't really fully support each other. They're going against each other. Republicans against Republicans. Because one side of the majority of Republicans who are leaving the other side because they don't like the way the other side is doing. So instead they're supporting the Democrats, even though they are still considered Republicans. They are supporting the Democrats because they agree with the Democrats. Why? They know what their leader is doing. They know that a few of their own kind don't do the ways that the other side said that they were supposed to do, right? So you got the good Republicans who don't like the way it's being handled, so they're against it. And then you have like maybe 10 or 20 majority of Republicans who would still agree. It could be a little bit more than that, but you have more who are against it, right? But they don't say that on the internet. They'll make it, when you search at a different angle, they'll make it just seem like it's there, but they don't like it. You know, you have a large majority of Republicans who do not like the way Trump is heading. But yet, some of the majority of Republicans who are against it will still support it. Because if they leave, you know, Trump scares a majority of the Republicans that want to leave his side, but they can't because, you know, it must be hard to be part of a group where you have a leader and that leader doesn't really do anything. He just intimidates you to scare you by threatening, using big words, right? And in some ways, it's really dangerous because there's a chance he may try to pull a fast one, right? But think about it. Even though he could pull a fast one, if you say something behind his back, in a way you're safe, but in a way you're at risk, right? Because the guy who is the leader has the most power, right? But here's the thing. He does not have the power over the American people or fully power over his own colleagues. He has some of that power because he's in the White House, right? But you have the other side of the government who can actually take away that power if one side just exposes that truth. So you don't really have too much danger, but in a way you do, right? Because the guy who's a leader can abuse the power of leadership by making shit and then try to do something behind it, right? Because now nobody knows, and he can do something behind their backs if the person who is a Republican, who is supporting the Republican because he has no choice, he has every reason. There's always a reason to not be able to go on that other side because this guy is going to prevent it. And yeah, there's times where they've probably had presidents before that had made somewhat of a mistake that Trump was. But that they made a full mistake? Hell no. And if you search it up, Nixon did not really try to do what Trump did. See, early on Nixon tried to do some things the good way. But what happened was, he just had to quit. He gave that speech about the tariffs. Why? Because he was actually letting people know about what the tariffs can do and how it can affect the economy and the markets. And the things that we have to pay for later on. How much we would have to pay for in taxes and other things. And so he quitted. He left, right? But here's the thing. Yeah, he was still alive until, you know, people had, you know, on his side, his own colleagues mislead other people on the things he did. But in some ways, he did end up to that point where he did started listening to other Republicans. And you know, the other Republicans had used him, right? And I'm letting you know because there are history where a Republican colleague would try to, you know, threaten the leader of the guy who is part of that side of the group. And that's why you never had a president that is doing what Trump does now. But yeah. It's crazy, right? We have never had a president in so long until now, like Trump, who is now just out of whack, right? They are saying that the tariffs he's doing actually helps the economy. No, it is a double-edged sword, and the way he's using it is going to make it worse. And so the way you search it up, if you search up that is there a chance that the tariffs that Trump puts, even the 100% tariffs, if you try to search it up, where is there a chance it could just harm the economy completely? And, you know, the tariffs that Trump puts alone. If you search that up, it'll say, well, uh, not exactly, because the things that Trump does with the tariffs is actually helping the economy in a way. Helping in what way? The abuse of tariffs. If you search up that, does Congress and the senators see how Trump is abusing tariffs alongside 100% tariffs? They'll say it in the way where some people would think, right? But in a way they'll see, right? Because that's only if you search up the word alongside Congress and senators. They'll say that, well, it has been said by the congressmen and senators, and alongside the Supreme Court, because if you search all three of them, it has been said by the senators and congressmen and Supreme Court judges that has been known to be said that they are saying that Trump has abused them tariffs to a point where it could harm the economy entirely. That is leading to a point of, yes, he is putting those tariffs to a point where it would already have affected the economy. But not completely, just to an extent. And if he does more, which he's starting to do more, it can literally harm the United States a whole. Meaning the whole state will go to a point of bankruptcy. And yes, they'll still have money. They won't be completely broke. The United States won't be completely broke. But there'll be a chance where some of the power that we have won't be as good as back then. Think about it. The signal if you have an internet provider by either a cable franchise company like Spectrum or something else, if you see the difference, and let me tell you guys this, we have an internet provider, but compared to what it used to be with the signal way back then, it is much worse. Because if you look up on the internet browser itself and try to search up, does the United States still have the really good, powerful reception that we used to have back then? No! Compared to back then, the United States in general, we're actually losing a lot of the resources to a point where we only have a decent amount of power and signal and, electricity and everything, but it ain't as powerful as back then. Because we used to have complete support from Canada. But the leader of Canada, because of what Trump done, he has made it where he's lost the respect of the Canadian leader. And listen to this, the Canadian leader is actually a Republican. Dun! So, yeah, a Republican Canadian leader who is not happy with the way his own side is doing. He is against it. And yet, they'll say that, he's still supporting Trump. No, he's not really supporting Trump at all. How you think the power source that we have now ain't as good as before? Because we're not really getting nothing. We're not. Because the things Trump has done already. We are not getting enough power in the state. We're not getting enough electricity or energy. And yeah, we may still have some source of clean water. But if you think about it, there's other states where they usually have these storms or hurricanes to where it would affect their water supply and somewhat also affect their power supply. Their resources will be at low. And they'll be limited to certain resources, being they don't have certain resources. And so Trump tries to say, we have great allies. What allies? Allies of the state, not really allies of the nation. And oh yeah, guys, I will be completing. Oh! Oh, shoot. So, I don't really have the room for an egg. Ah, damn. Well, at least I'm still able. I should be able to still, yeah, like they say the main quest there, head to the Harzagai Rocky Hills. Meaning I still had this completed even though I couldn't get anything. Well, hey, at least I'm still able to move forward, right? Okay. Uh-huh. So I'm gonna do one more of the quests here and try to get through this boss fight if we have a boss fight. If we don't, we have a cutscene, that's fine too. Because I'm usually just making one stream every day. Just to prevent myself from fully pressured, and plus I have to eat soon after this. You know, my dad was already making beefsteak, you know. And so, you know, plus I don't really have the right nutrition, because I've been eating somewhat in like afternoon, early and later in the day, but it's not really a fully good nutrition because I've been eating that same thing. If you didn't know what I said, just rewind through the video when the stream uploads, and you'll see what I said early on in the stream. Because I do tell you guys early on in the video when the stream uploads that the reasons that I just haven't been able to focus enough on my nutrition, but I have been eating somewhat nutrition, but I have been overdoing certain parts of that nutrition that is not enough. I mean, it's enough, but it's too much, you know. Like I said, I had quite a little bit extra of iron in my nutrition. And you'll see why when you listen to the early part with this stream uploads. Elevate. Righty. Hold on, let me. As much as I want to run away, I don't. I want that experience, you know. I want the experience points to get at least one level as I get to the game stream, you know. I could also play the game off stream as well, but with a different, you know, safe progression off stream. And then probably decide to like switch to making guides at some point, right? But like, I don't want to abandon the stream of the Let's Play too fast, and I do want to just continue that Let's Play. And I know there's a chance that maybe if I had already had a character at endgame, that I'll just probably be focused to do guides and stuff at some point if I just use a separate character instead of my actual Let's Play character. Regardless, I'll just switch to a guide thing, and that'll probably be the most kind of best option for me, right? But that's if I worked on a different character off stream entirely, even though I had this stream as a Let's Play doing. Sorry, I'm in the YouTube app. But yeah, if what I have to deal with in this life is a little bit of pressure, the best option would be to have a character progress off stream to make it where, yeah, I'm still doing content, but it'll be a different type of content, right? It'll be mostly just guides at the end game. Okay. A monster. Hey, look at that. He already showed up in the top. Ah, that's right. Okay, he is technical. I was thinking this guy has to be technical first, right? So my intuition was kind of right. Because I did face this thing on my first stream that one time before I started an actual Let's Play. Because there were times where I did do a Let's Play and start up, but I never try to complete it a few times. So I did fought this thing. Or maybe I fought it on the Switch. I'm not aware. I know I fought it either something, right? I mean, I played this on my regular Switch. I don't have a Switch 2 yet. And here's the thing. I might not get a Switch 2. Maybe not at all. And here's the reason why. Because I did started wanting to just get a Switch 2. But here's the reason why, right? There's another Pokemon-inspired game. And this game is literally taking actual artwork from Pokemon itself. You know how Breloom, right? Apparently this one game that is not just taking inspiration, but is also trolling. Yeah, this one company is just stepping all out, right? They're saying, we're not afraid. You're trying to make it look like you own everything, that you never took inspiration from everything. So this one company is doing it as a laugher, right? As a joke. And here's the reason why. That joke is just basically there to show Nintendo that you can't stop other companies from taking inspiration when you take inspiration yourself. So what they're saying is, in a way, as a joke, they're also proving to Nintendo wrong about, the mechanics and the lawsuit that Nintendo is still putting against Pocket Pair in secret. So this could potentially harm Nintendo. Because here's the thing, Nintendo can't really focus on multiple lawsuits as one. They have to take on and finish the one they're doing with Palworld and Pocket Pair in general. So here's the thing, right? What's this game is called? Pikmin, right? Pikmin, if that company releases Pikmin right off the bat, and not just on PC, because later down the road they'll release a console port. And if Sony supports this, right, is because they also see the things that the company they're already supporting, like Pocket Pair through Palworld. See, let's say if Sony does actually support Pikmin, right? Even though Pikmin takes a lot of actual similar art style, because the Pikmins actually fully take from Pokemon. But here's the thing, right? Nintendo is putting things against Pocket Pair, and this is just because mechanics. They tried to do something against the art, right, for the pals, but it never successful. It was never successful because they only got successful at first with the throwing mechanics. But guess what happened, guys? That came back into Palworld. Yeah, they actually brought back the throwing mechanic. Why? Nintendo actually failed that throwing mechanic lawsuit after they were successful in the beginning. Why? The court themselves in Japan, right? They're like, all they're doing is multiple lawsuits that has been done through another company that they put against. For what? Mechanics that now, after a while of seeing that they thought it was successful, they now saw it as where Nintendo is just doing it on purpose. So now a lot of these lawsuits that Nintendo is also trying to put on top of the throwing mechanic that they put that was successful early on, but then they saw it as like, oh, this is not, it's not worth it because it exists in other games. It's crazy. So if all these other companies have throwing mechanics in their games, but they don't have ownership, to a point where even though Nintendo has papers where it says they have ownership, but they have done lawsuits against another game company because of the throwing mechanic, and then they have done it against other gaming companies. And yes, a few of those gaming companies, they were actually successful with those lawsuits, right? To a point where the court is now just seeing it as an excuse to just abuse it by trolling, right? You troll the lawsuit against another company to a point where the courts will see it as just a troll and not see it like you're taking it seriously. For like, at first they took you seriously, but now they're not actually taking it seriously. They're like, oh, why are you putting lawsuits for all these mechanics when other games already have a lot of these mechanics? Like, it don't make sense, right? So little by little, the Japanese courts will start rejecting and rejecting and rejecting, because they're gonna start looking to a lot of the lawsuits for every mechanic or everything they're trying to put and see it as like, oh, it has been done already before and you're doing it again for what? You have done this many, many times, Nintendo, and you're doing this and bringing this lawsuit for us to handle with Pocket Pair. And now we're starting to see why we let it go through to a point where it's either you stop or we're just gonna cancel it regardless, right? They're not gonna go against Nintendo entirely, but the things that Nintendo Japan is doing to get that patch through the lawsuit in Japan patched here. So when the throwing mechanic gets patched in Japan because the lawsuit passed in Japan at first, it'll get patched here too, because Pocket Pair is also a Japanese indie game developing company, meaning the game of Palworld that exists in Japan but came here because the same franchise in Japan existed here, but also had to put the lawsuit against Nintendo that, well, not really the lawsuit against Nintendo. Nintendo, who put a lawsuit in Japan and got the lawsuit successful in the beginning for that mechanic for the throwing. If they patch in Japan, it's gonna patch here. But here's the good side, right? In a way, because Pocket Pair won the lawsuit against the throwing mechanic, because now the court says, you're just doing this because now we're looking into this. This has been done many times by Nintendo. So now that lawsuit for the throwing mechanic in Japan, it actually got declined. So, of course, over here, we see it as it declined, right? So now we have the throwing mechanic back in Japan and over here. So it's a positive side for Japan and Pocket Pair. And this is like, if you haven't noticed, Japan is the turf of Nintendo. Why did they always win? Because they were the ones that actually started a game like Pokemon. But here's the thing. The courts also see that, hold on, let me... Okay. That what has Pokemon took inspiration from, with some of their art style, from Dragon Quest. Yeah, the whole monster taming aspect that they took with Pokemon, even though their Pokemon game, they're trying to say it's just considered a monster catching, where you throw Pokeballs at a Pokemon, right? To like catch them. That's the whole like objective of Pokemon, is you gotta catch them all, right? Sorry, my nose is stuffy. Woo! Okay, we're gonna get through this whole main quest here that we're doing. And once we fight a boss fight, or if we fight a boss fight, after that boss fight, I'll just end Ranmar. We are not gonna let Ranmar continue. We're gonna put Aptonoth. Oh! And oh yeah, guys, I'm just now we're resorting to the lemonade, the pure lemonade, no sugar, no nothing. I made something yesterday, like I used peach tea with grapes, right? I blended with some grapes and put a little few drops, like a dab of, I know it's not really considered a dab, but you put a few drops of strawberry jelly and let it like blend with ice, you know? So this way it's not overpowering with sweetness, because the ice basically helps lighten the amount of sweetness, because the amount of ice you usually put, if it's a decent amount, to lighten that sugary taste, to make it where, because you know the peach tea itself does contain some of that natural sweetener, right? Because it's Old Orchard. And then you have strawberry jelly, which has a little bit, tiny bit of more of that sweetness, right? Because you only put like a little drop of jelly from the squeezing, you know, squeeze the jelly. And so you also have the water, not water, ice. And then I also mixed some lemon juice in there. I put a little bit of drip of lemon juice in there and that strawberry jelly for the taste, you know. And so when I put ice, I basically lightened a lot of the majority of sweetening, you know. Even though it's naturally sweetened, right? I put a little bit of that extra ice to like lighten the to make it where it's not so sweet and it's balanced. Okay, if I'm not able to beat the Puro Peko in this part, done, I'll just move it. If I'm not able to beat this, because in some ways, even though I don't really feel the full pressure on me, I can still have that awareness, because now I know how it would feel for me if I was kind of pressured. Even though I don't see it taking full effect, you know, and I'm not getting pressured because of the stream itself, even though it could be somewhat of that, because the things that some of the stuff I usually talk about can somewhat pressure me. Even though the feeling of pressure, the way I think of it, is probably something entirely different. But yeah. Okay. I think this guy is done for. This Puro Peko might be done. I have a feeling he might be done. No? Yeah, he's not done yet. But he's almost. He should be almost. And wait a minute. He's recovering as well. But guess what? We have kinship. So get ready. Because I'm about to bring the personality of Virgil from Devil May Cry. Go. Last Dante. Nah, I'm not. That's not me. I don't really do a perfect Virgil like the original, right? And plus, you have the I think it's a new person that's playing as the Virgil that exists in like the new anime remake, and we're getting a season 2. It could be already out, but I'm not aware of it because I never revisited the anime website I usually do. But hey guys, I will check up if the season 2 has already been out, because I remember they announced and they put a trailer for the second season, I don't know if it's actually out yet because I haven't been able to like check things up on the season 2. But man, when I saw the second season, because the trailer, not the full thing, but I watched the whole first new remake anime, the whole season of that first whole remake, right? And man, they are actually leading to where, because the first whole anime is literally just taking parts from the first whole game. And then it's leading to the second whole game, right? Even though this is an anime, this anime is bringing the whole beginning of the story that exists in the game. It's like, whoa! And yeah, Lady was never in the first game, but the way it's taking place that led to the second game, in a way, like, we never knew the whole story about Lady, or shall I say, Mary, right? We never knew how she did in the first whole story. They actually explained her, even in the first whole story, that should have been in the first whole game. But that led to the second game, and then the third one, right? Because in the third game, that's when you see Lady, who is, Mary, before she becomes Lady, because Dante calls her that, right? He calls her Lady. So she now uses it as her actual name, as her identity in a way, right? It's pretty cool. You learn the whole backstory through an anime story perspective, right? Through like an actual series. To see that whole point of her as a character and the way that Dante would have experienced, right? Because in the anime itself, if you watch the first whole anime, where's the story begin for Dante? In a town, in a city. That's where he's starting off in, right? In the game, in the third game, you see him in a business where he has to, people can pay him to hunt other demons. And where's this business considered? In a city! Yeah! But in a small part of the city, right? You have a business in a part of the city where not very much people pay attention to the supernatural, right? And Dante is the supernatural and also takes care of the supernatural, the demon, right? And also, Mundus, right? Mundus. That's the guy, he takes care of in the first whole game. And then they don't really explain Trish in that. But I have a feeling that maybe, and this is a if, and take this with a grain of salt, right? They could probably put Trish. Or maybe they won't, right? We don't know. They could be, or they could not end up being. Because if you think about it, Trish was part of the first whole game, right? Before the second and third. And in the third, I don't think she really shows up at all. In the fourth game, she does show up. And this is when Nero, right? Nero takes that place. And later on, they reveal that Virgil is Nero's father. In the fifth game, they really put it out there. And I believe they put it at the end of, the new version of the fourth game that they released on basically, I believe PS3 and the one existing on PS4. Because I believe they just, regardless, they ended up remastering, making it to a point where they're able to put a lot of those existing part of the story where Virgil has, you have a chance to not only play as Virgil in the fourth game, but also see the part of the story where they actually explain, because Nero has that demonic arm, right? Same thing as Virgil, right? So if you're someone who already played Devil May Cry 5, then you know that whole story. But if you only played the first 3 and the 4th, and you already beat the 4th, but you haven't beat the 5th or even played the 5th. Think about the ending of the 4th, or in the 3rd game. If you played as Virgil in the 3rd game, you can see the resemblance as you play the 4th game. You think, oh, wait a minute, Nero has an arm that looks exactly like Virgil, right? What is it coming to? What are you thinking when you see Virgil's arm in the 3rd game, and then you see Nero's arm in the 4th game, right? And these are two different characters, but they're quite alike, right? The resemblance with the arm is quite alike. It can only lead to one conclusion, right? I'll let you guys figure it out, even though I've said most of what it could be, and probably already saw what it. I've already said what it is, right? So if you do not watch the part where I'm just saying it right now, and just decide to pay more attention to the part afterwards where I say, you can guess, right? Think about it, the resemblance, right? It makes sense. It makes complete sense. And if you didn't pay attention, but end up waiting till later on and you say, wait a minute, he's right, right? At first, you're not really understanding what I mean when I say he is the son, right? So, later on, because you have already heard before this and before that, before the things I said where I said is, but then you didn't really understand why I said that, but then you hear the one after where I said it, right? And then you realize, that makes sense, I guess it is starting to make sense, right? So yeah, it's like, you see it, you see that, whoa, wait a minute, my astronaut has been, oh, that's right, slipped, and then he's actually kind of stunned in it, because when he slips, he's like that. Well, okay. There's still a chance this guy may be finished. Here we go! It's it, right? This is over for quarter Peko. Hell yeah! I knew it.
Well,
Oh yeah, I knew
impressed.
he would have to be gone. Woohoo! Let's pull this. Okay. Yeah, you may be hearing me take a deep breath. Oh yeah, guys. Got good news. I don't know if you heard me made a conversation in this of one of my streams, because I did make one extra stream where I might have said this in my last Let's Play, or I could be wrong. I might have said this when I was talking about, you know, other things about... I made one more stream that I uploaded as a video, and of course, I titled it Hassan Supports Terrorism. And I also made another stream, and as a video it uploaded, I put something, and it wasn't about Hassan, it was about how, I'll check it up later. I think it was about where I say that something is stupid, right? But I think it was, the things that the city does, or I think it may have been a stream where I'm talking about how, maybe it was about me saying how some people were stupid because, you know, which I didn't put in the title maybe, but I may have. But I think it was about the reasons where people abuse religion. I could be wrong. I may have put a video where, through a stream where I titled it, how people abuse religion, you know. But, you know, that's a majority of the people who mislead the religion and using it as an excuse. But I did make another stream where I did actually just call it where people are stupid. But not every person, not every people is stupid. I mean, when I say in the title that people are stupid, is because, or maybe not people are stupid. I think I put just, I don't know, I forgot the way I said it. I have it in my YouTube, and I did upload it, where I say either they're just stupid or so, I don't remember. I would have to look at it, and before I end the stream, I'll look it up on my phone to let you guys know the title of the video, and I can let you know why I put the title of the video. I wasn't really calling every people stupid, because you have a lot of smart people, but you have some people who are just stupid because they just try to say something that isn't true, right? I think it was because of that lady. Before I stopped making content in general for a few days, I think it was because of that. Maybe it was. I mean, there was a lady that serves Trump who is known as Caroline, and the things that she alongside Trump does, right? Stupid. Uh, like not every woman or not every man is stupid, because we all know what that side of that Trump is trying to do is wrong. But the people who would support his agenda is just plain old stupid. You support a guy who is just abusing that power of leadership. But one side thinks, oh, he's not really abusing the power. But that's what they want people to think. They don't want people to know. They know that they're abusing the power by supporting Trump's leadership. Some of them, right? Who are trying to just mislead the Americans about Trump is doing good, not harm. But he is doing harm, right? But he is doing complete harm. But I did make a few videos where some part where I talk about how stupid Trump does things, and then I also made a few videos because I do react to someone known as Hassan Piker. I do not subscribe to him because I do react to him off screen, not on stream, off screen. And then I'm not really fully involved, but because I say things about the things he's doing wrong in general, it basically got me to a point where if he saw the video I post off of a stream, then regardless, I am now a part of his drama and a part of his feud, right? The things that he's already against that later, okay, the things that he's already put drama upon, and because I'm not really fully a part of drama, right? I'm just exposing his drama and the things he's done to make lies and force people to feel like, he's making it where other people are forced to be like they're considered evil because of them exposing the wrong he's done, because they're right and he's wrong, to a point where now he'll make you as a person, as a human being, become someone like he and other sides think you're evil. But you have people that are aware that what evil is and what evil is not, to a point where even someone like Hassan Piker, who sticks too low and puts himself above others, even though he's low,
I came here with Red
he's
once.
putting people, even content creators like Tectone,
It was a long
and
time
let me
ago.
tell you, I'm not a
You and I
content
had
creator.
only just met.
I'm not at all
Don't
a
hold
content
out on
creator.
us.
I'm a
Give us the
small
deets.
streamer,
You
and
wanna
I'm
hear
just
about your
letting you
grandpa
guys
too,
know,
right?
because even though you heard me say
From a
the
very
word
young age,
content
Red
creator,
was
I'm
quite
not
popular
talking
with
about
the
myself.
villagers.
I'm
They
talking
all
about these
wanted to
other
spend time with
people
him.
who are bigger than
Even
me,
though I didn't show much
who are
interest in him.
actually considered
For
content
some
creators.
unknown
Me,
reason,
I'm
he
just a
followed me
tiny
around
YouTube
all the
streamer.
time.
I'm just your average small
Hey,
YouTube streamer.
wait up, Alwyn.
And yeah, I don't know
Stop following
Tectone,
me.
but I like
You
watching
and your
his
little
videos. I
entourage
like
really get
watching
on my
these other
nerve.
YouTube videos. most of the inspiration I actually got was through Markiplier because I watched a lot of his videos as a kid. I mean, not really as a young kid, not like in my 10s or 7s, because I didn't really had a system that had online capabilities until like PSP, but I didn't really had the time to even use my PSP to watch YouTube videos because I was just focused on games on the PSP and school, you know. But even though I used to focus on school, I didn't really focus on lessons that I should have learned. But you know, that's something of the past. But then people will start to realize that they start realizing that they have to focus on things that they need to get to, right? Even if they're not able to go to school anymore, at least they can still do things for some things, right, that can actually get them a job somewhat, right? Even though it's not something, not a job that is high paying or anything, even though I don't have a job in reality because I have Medicaid. But here's the thing, you know, people like me and people that I think of, even though they're different than me, right? They're bigger than me. But I think the content that I usually like to make, like, it don't have to be gacha games because gacha games are just considered as, how you call it? A gam. Yeah, I'm coming, Dad. I'm doing a stream real quick. Yeah, I'll probably be ending the stream after this cutscene. Hold on. I'm gonna let my dad. So, my dad's going to see my mom. uh, yeah, I did say a few times in a few of my streams that my mom has dementia and Alzheimer's. Yeah, I say no, not really. But I'm gonna finish this one part of this quest, which could actually lead to a boss fight for sure. Because right there, find the camouflage monster. That's basically that rocky looking monster that we just saw. I actually fought him on the Switch version, and yeah, I faced him when this game first launched on the PS4. I did have the game on the Switch before it launched on the PS4, but I never finished it on the Switch. I finished it on the PS4. I have a decent amount of trophies from the game. Decent, not a full amount to the point where I almost have to go and complete the trophies and stuff. Hold on, I'll let you guys know how many percentage of the trophies. 38% of the trophies done. And this is when it first came to PS4. I literally got it. And I played it through and beat it. I had some part of the content at first because the 2 other expeditions and 2 separate DLCs, I ended up getting those 2 DLCs after I purchased the game itself. And so I was like, oh, you know, I beat the game, right? I played somewhat of the expedition, but then like, it didn't matter if I completed some of the expeditions early on after beating the game. I still would have had more, right? But in other ways, I also try to make it where I got the 2 other expeditions from 2 different DLCs. One of them is that pup companion that you would have in Monster Hunter Rise. And, you know, I did those, I did get those, Monster eggs, and, you know, I did do other expeditions with a friend who is already still at that end game, you know. He didn't make the mistake I made, you know. He didn't really reset any of his progress. He didn't make the mistake I made with the gear, okay? And I could have just refarmed that plus gear, that other plus gear with the elements that I used to have of the gear that was just regular gear, not plus gear. Because I did remove a lot of the regular gear with the, you know, the regular power gear, not the regular plus gear. The plus gear is not really, in a way, it's not really regular. It's just an advanced version of the gear you usually start off with crafting until you beat the game, right? Because once you unlock plus gear, you also had the regular gear which you could recraft, right? But the best one to usually start crafting once you beat the game is usually the plus gear, right? It makes sense. But you know, maybe I will play a little bit off stream of this game with a separate character and try to make it where I can get to the end game with that other character to a point where I could just focus on guides because of the pure pressure I get from just reality itself and a lot of other things. And I'm just 34 years old, right? Someone like me who's 34 years old going through that immense pressure already, right? In a way, it's just normal because when you're 18 or 20, there are times where some 18 or 20-year-old people just usually, you know, these young adults usually don't think of focusing on reality. But other people focus on reality even though they're in their 20s or 18s. Because there are a lot of majority of young adults who are existing now who are focused on that thing at like 18 or 20 years old. They're focused on a lot of things. People like me who started off just not really focused at things even when I was 18 or around 20s. Because some young adults take till they're like 30 and they're still considered young adults, of course. But some young adults who wait until the 30s to focus. But there are a lot of young adults now and before me who would usually just focus on that seriousness, right? Even though they're like 18 or 20s. They are usually focused. But like, me, myself, it took a lot. And yeah, after this stream, I will be eating something. And I'll wait until tomorrow to make another stream. Hold on. I forgot what thing this thing starts with. I think he's gonna start with tech. I could be wrong, or I could be right. Part of me is thinking he could use technical, and then go for power. That's what I'm thinking, you know? That's what I'm thinking, right? He could be just technical and power. Or he could just be plain old power. But, you know, to be on the safe side, I got the Monster Buddy website as a guidance. Not B? Okay. There we go. Okay, yeah, he's technical power. So the default, which is the one he'll start off now, is technical, and then power. Holy crap! If you do an exploration of this guy, he is an 8-star exploration for expedition, and of course, he's in the Woodland Den. right? Elder Layer, G6, which is in the area on the map, right? You can actually find him in the map. But in the map, in a regular den, he would just be a 3-star. Well, indifferent, right? So, okay, because he's technical, we're gonna use Aptonoth. So, we're gonna use the thing that is going to be strong against the way he's using his power, right? So, if he uses technical, we want to use power. If he uses power, we want to use speed. And these are just tactics where you would do against the monster in battle. It's not really a weakness per se, but it can be used like a weakness alongside the elemental attacks of a monster and his resistance, right? If his defense is the elemental that this guy would be, and I'm thinking it's just a non-elemental, right? Let me use power while I'm just checking. Oh, he's fire. Okay, he's a fire attacker. Okay. And yeah, if you have certain monsters, certain monsties, just because they have a certain elemental doesn't mean they won't be able to use like tactical attacks like power, speed, or technical. They can still use some speed, but you would have to like get it to where they can use techniques based off of speed or power technical side. So yeah. So my Ranmar, right, may not have certain tactical attacks, so where he can't really use speed at the moment, and this guy can't really use other styles yet. He can probably go and do technical alongside the power, even though he's not an elemental type monster. He can use some attacks with certain elements that he will learn of an attack. So, let me show you some, guys. So this right here is just something that he'll do sometimes randomly to like either heal himself or heal myself. Or this one he would usually use to cure an ally, one ally's status effect, abnormal status effect. Meaning different, like if we had poison, or it's kind of like, you know how in Pokemon you have like full heals that usually just restore status effect. So if your Pokemon's poisoned, and I'm putting this as an example, not really as an actual Pokemon thing. It's just like for an example for what Pokemon does with the item. And you do have some Pokemons who have a move to either negate the status effect, but with this game, you have monsters where they can actually heal status effects. Pretty interesting, right? Shoot. So, oh, this is bad. And you know why this is bad, right, guys? In a way, it's bad, right? Because let's say this Brazario, because of its damage in some ways, so if I can't really do a double attack, I mean, it's not really the end of my game, right? I'm not really gonna fully lose. Because you have 3 lives, 3 hearts. If your monster dies and you live that first turn, you only lose 1 life, right? But let's say if you're not able to survive it completely, this fight, right? Instead of losing 1 heart, you're losing 2. Because let's say if not just my Aptonoth goes down, and I also end up going down myself, that's 2 hearts. So if you died solo, that 1 heart will still be lost, right? And if your monster just died, your heart will still go down. That's 2 lives done. So if you yourself go down and not your ally, your whole game, because you caused it, you actually make it where the other person loses too. Because this is more of a team effort thing, right? But let's hope Bozarios don't take down my Afton. Because, well, I don't know if my other Monstie has power tactical attack type style yet. I could be wrong. Let's see. You don't have any power? No. Oh, okay, yeah. This guy has some power. Even though he's a technical somewhat. Yeah, okay, we'll switch it off. We could end up losing our kinship gauge, but that's fine. As long as we're able to do just a power attack, which we're gonna do it. To make it where we can actually have a double attack, even though we won't be able to do the kinship right off the bat. Hell, at least we can still build up our gauge until he starts using power tactics, which could end up being probably after this turn or the next turn, if we get 2 double attacks, right? That can make it where, depending on how much HP this Bozzario lose, he will switch to that second stance regardless. Here we go, let's see, do we get a double attack? Yes we do! Here we go, yep, okay. And we got some of that gauge built up, halfway again. But here's the thing, if this guy damages that guy, okay, he's still doing technical. This is good, okay, this is good. We'll switch the Kuliaku Monstie back to using power tactical attacks. Meaning we can still get our gauge a little bit more up there. Even though it will use some of that gauge. You see this? It'll use 8 of the kinship points from the gauge. We have 43. But we'll get a decent amount back regardless, right? So if we can get it back up before he switches his stance, even though it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't really matter if he switched that stance. Because you still could end up getting a double attack, even if Bozzario switches his stance, as long as you and your Monstie is still using that same tactical skill, right? That strategic tactic. So if you and your Monstie are still using his powers, you can still have a chance of doing a double attack, even if this thing changes up his tactic. Oh, look at that. Let's see. Hey, only a little more. So even if we have a little bit more of the gauge, let's say if I heal my Monstie, it can still get its gauge up there. And look at this, he still hasn't switched his stats, has he? Yep. So if we're lucky here, which we weren't, okay, we weren't, but we can still get a little bit of gauge, while if our Monstie does the second attack, maybe we can have the gauge. Oh no, it's almost, it built up a little bit. But, of course he ran. I forgot about that, he runs in the first fight. But we'll finish him off before we end the stream, you know? I want to finish this last quest, you know, in the main stream we have now. And then I'll just play a different character on my game. Oh, off stream, okay? Yes, my neck is kind of stiff to a point where I need to somewhat put it back in place by just, you know, kind of a little bit of a prep. Not always, just every now and then, not just every time. You know, I don't do it every minute, because back then I used to do it every dang time, right? Just to like show off, right? Like even if I wasn't getting ready to like fight as a young dude, Because when you're young, you usually don't care and you'll just pick a fight with any person. Sometimes, depending on what type of person you are. And yeah, I don't do that anymore. I don't start fights with any random people or any person I know at all. When I was a kid, man, oof, even though I still have disabilities, even though I know I'm not really fully autism, but I have fully ADHD. But because I have slight autism, when I was young, you look like you're like a completely autism dude, right? Because when you're young and you still have that, like, somewhat of that autism, like slight autism, because the way you talk as a person who is born with multiple disabilities, but even though you're not fully autistic, you're more like fully ADHD, right? But regardless, you have disabilities. You do have slight autism. So the way you talk is going to be completely from a normal, average person. But what is normal to people? Because a lot of people who work as doctors and therapists and psychiatrists, they will see you as like God would see any person in this world that He created. That every person is normal, every person is equally. But some people who are born into this world, who just lie out straight on lies and abuse the power, it don't have to be of leadership. It could be someone who is wealthy in general, right? It could be a person who is pure rich in money, who would usually abuse the life, this world, and will still use the law regardless, right? And they could usually escape the abuse that they caused and the crimes they caused and somewhat avoid it, right? They could avoid the jail time and the prison time. But with a leader, it's the same way, right? A person who is rich, who becomes leader, there are chances where sometimes when a person becomes a leader, they can abuse the power to an extent where the Congress and senators somewhat won't be able to do anything about it, right? There are chances because when you're a leader, you can now control somewhat of what you do, right? If you're doing it behind Congress and senators' back, right? Even if you have a majority of people in your side supporting you, those few people that are still there supporting you can help you escape the crimes you've done, right? Even if you're present and you have some colleagues that were not known completely for what we have now, the leader we have, who he's done. But like, even though it never happened in a long time, right? There's chances where a person can literally just abuse the power of a leader. Like what Trump is doing. He's trying to completely abuse it. Did the Congress and senators stop most of what he was trying to fully put out there, like the 100% tariffs? Oh yeah, they stopped it twice. I believe one was last year and the one was this year. Around February this year. And last year he tried to put a 100% tariff. Wow. Wow. I think it was the first term, and then the second term, which he's doing now, since last year.
Well fought, my friend.
But yeah, at least they failed the 100% tariff, even though he still have a few supporting of the 100% tariff, right? He still have a few people in the Republican side who supported it, others who knew what it would do. They were against it, Republicans who were against it, but some Republican who supported it, like Trump did. It's like, you do something, but even your own kind knows that what you're doing is wrong. Hey, yo! Okay, let's find this Bizarrius, okay? We're gonna complete and fight this Bizarrius, and just make sure we're able to get to that next main quest. And there is a chance I might try to do my off-screen character, which I do have two of, which are the same. From the character before that I used to, try to do a Let's Play with that other character, but now I'm just continuously doing the Let's Play with a male character. Why? Well, if there were episodes that I never completed but repeated, even though, I try to fully make a Let's Play, if I make streams, even though I've repeated those parts of the streams, and continuously made a female character, right? What will people think? I mean, this is a young female character, right? Even though a lot of the armors that you usually craft somewhat reveals a lot of skin, right? You want to make it where other people don't see you the wrong way, Like, it's when you play any type of RPG, even if the other RPGs have mature-looking females with the mature-looking outfits, but this one has a family-friendly element to it, where, because it's already considered a family-friendly thing. It's a kid's anime, right? But, they have a lot of armor that are somewhat revealing. So if you use a female character, because you're also revealing some of that skin for the male character too in some ways, but you're not doing anything appropriate. It's nothing too inappropriate, okay? Because it doesn't show that much skin like that, okay? But compared to a person, if they use a female character non-stop, and just because he makes streams where he's using a female character non-stop, but then changes because he don't want people to see him that way, right? And there are people in general in this world who tries to put something against that person because he usually chooses the female character. That don't mean shit. Like, you see New World Eternum, there's a lot of people that somewhat use female characters, but then they switch up the gender, right? Because, it's not just the fact that they're like, I want to switch up, right? Because, they want to make different characters of different gender, right, in a game. So if you're playing an MMO, in general, there are times where you'll make a few different class, a few different genders. So you'll have a male tank, you'll have a female tank. You'll have a male wizard or a male mage or a female mage. With different classes, people like to have different classes with a male or female of that whole same class, right? So different classes, people like to see the story in a different angle, right? If you make a male character, yeah, there's a story with a male character. And yeah, with the female, it's still the same story, but with a different experience as a character that is a female character. So yeah, it's the same story, but you have that different experience in a way by seeing the story with a female main character, a female main protagonist, right? You want to see the complete way and experience the story for what, even though it's explained that same story, you want to see the main story in a whole new experience. So you make a male character, you saw that whole story as a male character, but now you want to see that whole main story again, but see how it completely end as a female character, even though it's the same, the same story, but you want to see the part where how the female protagonist will have that same experience like what the main male protagonist experienced through the story, right? Because of the same story, but also in a way a whole different experience, right? And especially Dragon's Dogma, certain RPGs in general, you can make a female character or a main protagonist character. It don't matter. You experience the story in a different way by, choosing a different gender. Having the option to have more freedom to create your character in general through the main story itself. You have a female character, you have a male character. That's what makes a lot of RPGs, JRPGs, kind of more unique than others. It gives you that freedom of creativity. That's what's so cool. And MMOs in general, they usually give you that freedom of creativity and let you feel the rewarding of how you want to create a story. It's not just the gear and the loot, it's also the character's story. Even though it's the same, you have the freedom of creativity. You could play how you want to play it, but not like in completely freedom to play how you like. Just like somewhat freedom that you would like the way you want to play. So if you want to play from different genders and play to have different builds, right? That's what makes a lot of these JRPGs so much fun and so much unique and so much in a way rewarding, but in a way not too rewarding, right? So, even though Diablo 4 is somewhat good rewarding with a lot of things, but in a way, oh yeah, it's still kind of rewarding with the loot. And I have to, I'm still gonna try to experience this 12th season of Diablo 4. Because, yeah, I made a character, but I didn't see what Season 12 is capable of yet. I've looked up things that one of my friends had told me how Diablo 4 with Season 12, how you can use the Butcher somewhat his form, right? But I haven't really experienced it, But yeah, while I'm off stream today, I'm probably just gonna experience somewhat to see the new changes, because I can actually just do the end game farm, because I've already beated the whole first and second content. So the first whole Diablo 4 content, yeah, I beat it. And then I also beat it Vessel of Hatred, And yeah, very soon we'll be getting Lord of Hatred, which will basically come next month. And yeah, I'm so hyped. I'm not gonna fight this blue uncut coup. I'm just gonna run away. Try to get to the main boss, Bazarius, in this quest. Yeah, I do have somewhat of an itchy nose. And also a stuffy nose, Ugh, for some reason, I have lost a decent amount of weight. Oh, look! Bazarios, he's already around here. So, okay. We have to look at one of these rocks. Hey, look at that! We already found the guy. But he's gonna run again, I believe. No, you fight him again, the sixth. And then he'll run again. And then you fight him one more time after you get to the third fight. When the third fight is it, that's basically the final fight. And of course, we're just gonna fight him while he's using Technical again. Which is a good thing. I guess you can say it's a better thing, right? Okay, yeah, this is the Mosty that usually just relies on the... Oh! Yeah, I forgot. That's alright! Oh, yeah, that's right. He uses technical early on. Ah, God, man. I forgot the one I usually have to switch to was Kulia. Go! Oh, that's okay. As long as this Yunpeku survives, we're okay. We can just switch to the Kulia too and get that power. I have a feeling we could just survive this. We should be completely fine. We should be completely fine. Oh, look at that! He didn't even attack. Nice. We're lucky and pally. Alrighty, Kuyaku. Power tactics is going down. Yeah, he's using technical, but we'll switch him to power. Even though he'll use some of our kinship points, we'll get a really decent amount back. So it's fine. Look at that. We're gonna get a really decent amount of kinship points back. Look at that. Look at that. Haha. Look, mommy, look what I did. You see what I did? That's very nice, sweetie. Mommy, you see what I did? Yes, that's very fine. Go along and play with your friend. Oh, crap. This kid is gonna start yapping non-stop. Hey, can you stop your kid from yapping? You dare say stuff about my son? Take that back. Okay, I'll take it back. Thank you. And yes, we're gonna use a bit more kinship points again. But we'll get a majority of decently good kinship points if we do a double attack. If we don't, then we're still gonna get a tiny portion of the kinship back, the kinship points. But we won't get the amount we would get with a double attack. Are we lucky or no? We're not lucky. But we still get a small portion of the kinship. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to take another risk. Even though we're not really taking a full risk. We're just taking that tiny risk. And here's why. Only 8 kinship points. This one's 8 as well. This one's 16, right? But as long as you get that double attack, because you're not really losing a lot of kinship points, you're only losing 8, right? And if you get a double attack, you get a decent more kinship points back. Let's see. There's a high chance we win. Oh, here we go. Lucky hit. Double attack. We can get it to where we're now close to an active kinship. We'll see. Oh yeah, he ain't attacking. And yeah, if we use one more time with power, and also do a double attack, we'll actually get to that point where we can do a kinship attack. But here's the thing, if he runs away again, and we fight him the 3rd time, we're still gonna have to build back that kinship. So, but that's okay, that's okay. There, look at that, kinship attack is about to get. Probably before he runs away again, huh? Oh yeah! Before he even runs away. Oh ho ho ho! And yeah, we have to defeat at least one more time and then get the main quest done after the 3rd time. That's basically the final fight of this main quest with. And then, yeah. And then afterwards we'll end the stream. We're not ending the stream yet, even though we're already at the point of 2 hours. But like, hey, we're still gonna do it. We're gonna beat Bazarius and then end the stream there. Look at that, he runs away again, right? The 3rd fight will be that final fight. And where is it gonna be? Where you now have a bunch of different rocks around you, and you still have to do what you do now, pick the rock to find him. And he is basically camouflaging himself as a rock. What is the name of a quest? It basically has the word camouflage, meaning he is, wait for it, find the camouflaged monster. Even though you're not really at the same part of that quest, you're still fighting him when he's trying to blend in by camouflaging himself as a stone. So even though my main objective is now slay the Bizarrios, he had taken camouflage completely multiple times. And this is gonna be the last time he camouflages himself as a giant boulder. Because this is gonna be his final camouflaging moment. Meaning if I fight him one more time, that one last time he's camouflaging himself, that will basically be the final fight. And look at that, we're already at... Oh my god. I didn't even see that thing right behind me. I knew he was all the way over there, but like, I didn't think he was following me. Run away. I'm trying to get this thing here so I could unlock this fast travel point and also get the saving spot here. What? Oh. Okay. Woohoo! There we go, there we go. Got the caravan place here. Now! We just have to find what he is camouflaging in. And what spot he's camouflaging. And if I remember correctly, he is either in this side directly, on this side here. If I remember correctly. No, okay. We'll see. Is this here? No. Okay, it has to be around this. This thing here is giving me... How did I know? The shape just appealed to me. That shape there. I was like, this has to be the Bizarrius. Let me mute myself so that I can make it where you guys can enjoy the cut. No cutscene yet, but I'm still gonna have myself muted, so that way when, after this fight happens, there will basically be a cutscene. Hey guys, I'm trying to call my dad, but I think he may have left his phone here. Or maybe his phone died, because last night it was at 66%. But I have that battery saver for him on there set up. But the thing is, his phone could be dead, or he could have his phone here recharging. But yeah, he probably has his phone dead. And I was trying to let my dad know that after I do the stream that I'll be getting food. You know, after I beat this Bizarrius, I will be taking time off stream until tomorrow. And I'll just try to eat after this. Because, you know, he made food. He made beef steak. And yeah. I did not really eat anything early today. I did drink a bit of pure old plain old lemonade, and yeah, no sugar. And I also had some of that peach tea that I made yesterday with. Well, I didn't really make the peach tea itself. I blended like I had grapes in a blender with the peach tea. You know, for a little bit of that fruitiness. You know, with a little bit of a. And I know some people usually don't do this, but some people do. You know, to get that fruity kick as well. A little bit of a strawberry dip, you know. Ooh, hold on. Let me switch this guy to use a power so that way I can get at least double attacking, right? I'm thinking, not the Link, going after the tail. I don't think it really matters though, because as long as I'm able to build a kinship bond, that's the only thing that matters. Oh my god, Alwyn, why aren't you doing anything right? I mean, a few times he has been doing right, or maybe he's just not doing he's not losing a lot of health. But now he's losing quite a bit of health. Because, you know, every time you face a different phase of that same boss, right? Even though it's not really a complete boss fight, right? In some ways it's considered because it's part of the main story. And Bizarrius is just one of the main bosses of that main quest, right? He's not healing! Oh, I'm gonna have to heal him myself. You know, to prevent the risks, you know, even though it's okay to take one risk by him going down once, as long as he's still able to get up the second time. But the third time will basically be his last chance, right? And yeah, I took the risk for myself. Yeah, but at least I'm able to make it where the fight is, you know, where I'm able to last a little more longer in the fight. And yeah, he ain't gonna heal me, right? No, he ain't gonna heal me. Okay. Well, lucky for me, I've been farming a bit early on in the stream through the Let's Plays. And no, I'm not healing him. I'm healing. And yeah, I got a little bit more kinship points after that too. Yeah, his Monstie is fine. I don't have to worry about his Monstie. I have to worry about more like my character and him himself, Alvin. So as long as me or him as NPC don't get attacked, we're fine. As long as it's our Monsties that are handling somewhat of those blows, we're fine. Not like, I'm not hoping our Monsties will go down. I'm hoping for all of us, including our Monsties, will stay up, you know? Why? It's kind of like when you... It's not just like when you know, when you play Pokemon, the Pokemon that you are close to in the Pokemon games itself, you know, you treat your Pokemon with care and love. That's the main story in the Pokemon series, right? The main whole point of the anime is the character respects his Pokemon and cares about it. Loves him, right? You love your Pokemon. Pokemon are your companions. Kind of like with Monsties and Monster Hunter Stories. Your Monsties are an extension of you, like you are an extension of your Monsties. You learn to have the kinship, right? Your Monsties and yourself, you build up a kinship, meaning the bond between you and your Monstie, which makes you more powerful, right? Similar to what Pokemon is. But Pokemon is much more different, a little bit more complicated, but also somewhat the same. Just the difference is you make yourself more power, and somewhat like in Pokemon, because you're doing it through your bond with your Monsties, just like in Pokemon, you and your Pokemon end up building that trust and bond, but in a whole different way, right? Because of X and Y, like put Mega Evolution. Yeah. So in this game, it's just a regular Monstie, just rare egg, meaning same Monstie, but much more potential of being somewhat more stronger than your regular average Monstie without that rare. Huh. Gotta make sure I'm still somewhat able to build my kinship. Hey, look at that kinship! We're already up there. We just have to make it where Alwyn will get his kinship up. So, while we're just doing regular attacks, while we're grading up for the kinship, we mount our Monstie, attack regularly, wait for Alwyn to build his kinship, so that way we can get a double kinship in Bizarrios, and we finish this final Bizarrios fight. It's perfectly planned. I figured it out. I planned everything down to fight this Bizarrio, to make it where I can also get it to a double kinship. Alrighty? And yes, we're doing our power. The way is, the strategy is, we're waiting it out a little bit to see if Alwyn can increase to get his kinship done. See, we're leveling up our kinship dodge to making it where even if he had his kinship at level 1, because of our triple level, it'll make it where the double kinship is a lot more powerful from my side, alongside that level 1 on this side. Easy peasy. Now we're gonna have it at level 3! Ha ha ha! Alright. He's almost at his kinship. And this guy's still doing technical. So I got my kinship at level 4 now. Boom! Well, actually not level. I think we might actually be completely. And look, he's almost there. So if we do use a potion here to heal up ourselves, and when he gets his kinship set up, we could be doing it. Ah, here it goes, guys. Kinship double time. Oh, we're ready. We're ready for that next turn to finish everything off. Well, we're not really gonna finish it. But we can get him to a point of that second phase, and it's about to happen. Maybe we can get him done, or maybe we'll just get him to that second phase. Let's see. We have our kinship power at level 3, the Gouge. So, we could be doing a quite decently amount of damage. Ooh, okay, decent. Not 1,000, but it's decent. I mean, if you think about it, Bizarrios is purely tanky. Oh, and look at that. We were able to get that double attack in and also get our kinship bar halfway. And he's still probably doing what? Technical still? Yeah. If we get a double attack again, we get it to where it's now closer to that full kinship bar. Yeah, right? And yeah, if we can get another double attack, we have ourselves a guaranteed kinship. Meaning, while we wait for Alwyn again, while we are just regularly attacking after having our kinship set up, we ride on, and then we just attack while we're riding the monster where we're mounting our monster. Hey, look at that! Now we just attack while we're ready up for that kinship. And we just attack until we're able to see Alwyn get up with the kinship. He's almost there, fellas. He is almost there. So we're riding on. And now, he's still using Tempo. Rosarios is still using Tempo. We're fine. And then when he switches up, there's a problem there because we won't be able to use any speed tactic skills to avoid and counteract. Oh, here goes. See, we might just be forced to use that kinship now. And maybe at the moment. So we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do a kinship. We're not, we have our kinship level so far with the Gouge at level 2. So even though we may not do a significant amount of damage that is crazy, but we'll do some really decent damage as a solo kinship. He's gonna give the egg to Kuliaku, and it's a bomb. It's a poor Kuliaku, man. Poor Kuliaku had to hold a bomb egg, and that Kuliaku was expecting, a real egg, It sucks. But hey, at least we were able to get that Bizarro stunned for a few seconds until this turn started. But hey, now we switch it around. We're using Ranma. We're using speed tactics right now. We are changing our fighting phase, the way we're gonna fight, our style. So yes, Alwyn is still resorting to the opposite of what Bizarro is. And this is the complete opposite. He's using the thing that Bizarro is going to do. Exactly. But hey, it don't matter. As long as I'm able to get myself up there and also make sure to heal him in time, we're fine. And we got our double tap. Oh! Win! And after this cutscene, I'll probably end this stream here. So I'm gonna mute myself, so people can enjoy it. Hey guys, when I get to the Elder, I'm going to end the stream, but I'm going to have myself muted, and there's other reasons. I'm going to check with one of my sisters who is making sure to keep an eye on my other sister, and see how everything's going, to see if they're actually on their way back. So, alright. Alrighty. Let's get the. Sorry, guys, I have a little bit of that stress itch in my head. Nowhere else, just in my head, you know. But I usually just rub it from time to time, not really scratch it. Because I know if I continuously scratch my head, that'll literally make that stress itch worser. And so does heat. Heat usually, when it's hot out or hot inside, even if it's winter, but because you have a heater on, when you have stress and stress itch in general, without the stress itch, whatever stress you had, even though it's not stress itch right off the bat, that stress that you have already, the heat will affect that stress to a point where it'll make that stress build up, and so it gets worse. And so last year and the year before that, in wintertime in 2024, at the end of 2024, around December, because it was cold, and there were times where even though I didn't have this stress itch, I did usually felt hot because of the heater. And so in 2024, before the end of winter, because it was still winterish and coldish, the heat literally affected me, but I wasn't stress itching at that time because that's when I started building stress, and I wasn't aware of it early on, of that stress, you know. And I didn't have that stress itch early. But bit by bit, even though I was stressed, that heat was building it up even further. So it made it so much worse, to a point where later last year, that's when I started developing the stress itch. That's what I was starting to feel, stress itch. But I'm gonna mute myself again, let the cutscene do its thing, so you guys can enjoy the cutscene. No need to hear my drama, okay? Alright.
Elder, Zealot, we're back.
And the monster?
It was a Basarios disguised as a rock!
You're sure?
Without a doubt.
So, you ready to admit how great my buddy is now?
I may have been there to support them, but they put a stop to the beast by their own power. They fulfilled their duty as riders admirably.
I trust Alwyn's judgment. What do you say, Elder?
Then it would seem the time has come.
Yaha! I knew you could do it, buddy!
The rite of channeling is a secret ritual that helps draw out a monster's hidden strengths. By combining the power of two monsters, you can awaken your monster's latent abilities.
You will learn better if you try it for yourself. Come to the stables.
Hey guys, I don't know. Hold on, let me make sure. Okay, yeah. We're okay. I'll continue this quest here in tomorrow's stream, and I'll do some other things off stream, like watching YouTube or watching a little bit of anime on my PS4, because I know that bit by bit, before they actually completely shut the PS4 down, because I believe they did already shut down the PS3. So, bit by bit, the internet browser will be useless to the point where you're gonna rely on the PC to watch anime in general. And I'm thinking later down the road, I'll buy a portable hard drive with the USB port in it, so that way I could download a lot of these animes from my PC to watch it through the portable hard drive itself while it's connected, because you can't really download any type of videos to the PS5 itself directly, and same thing with the PS4. You can't really download videos, at all. But on the PS3, way back then, before they actually made that final update where they had prevent people from downloading things in general to the PS3, now these days you can't really download anything to the PS3. Even if they shut it down, you won't be able to do nothing. It is completely useless. But the PS4 ain't really useless completely yet. But they are no longer continuing the development of the PS4, right? Because of the PS5. And here's the thing. There's no guaranteed at all that the next gen system, after the one that exists now, the PlayStation 5, they are no longer going to have that browser. In some ways, it's a disappointment because you have a lot of these stupid people who would use the PS4 and abuse the internet browser. How? By exploiting. People like me don't really do that at all. People like me who usually try to use the internet browser for the sake of enjoying videos, anime. And people in general on the other side abuse it and exploit it. To a point where now Sony, they see that it's not safe for an internet browser on their system at all. Why? PSP. People use the internet on the PSP, the internet browser, to exploit that too. When you could have done that without the internet browser on the PSP. Like a lot of majority of people who usually modded their PSP when it shut down. Well, if they modded, they wouldn't really use it for the sake of cheating. They'll use it to get free games, right? But that's still ripping it off. See, I didn't do it too many times, right? When it had the PSP that was literally still going, right? When the PSP still had the service for the PlayStation itself, I only downloaded certain games that I couldn't really afford at all. And is it still considered taking advantage to get free games, of course, right? But depending on the location, if you're not in Japan, you're safe. But it's still completely somewhat illegal. But as long as you don't abuse it to like cheat in games, in a way it's not bad, but in a way it's still considered bad. But, I never used it for the sake of cheating on games. I used it for the sake of, getting certain games that I really couldn't afford or really didn't have. And after shutdown, hey, people can still mod the PSP, right? Without using the browser, because they're shutting down that service entirely, right? So you're going to be forced to rely on a computer regardless. But, yeah, for the PS4, as well, if you're relying on the internet browser for the sake of exploring to mod your system through the browser, thanks a lot to the stupid people who would use an internet browser to mod their own system's firmware. Because all them stupid people who use the internet browser to mod their firmware on their system, you stupid people has killed the satisfaction of the internet browser to a point where Sony is actually forced to take extreme measures to a point of removing it because it's not really safe for the system because of them stupid people abusing the internet browser on the PS4 itself. But yeah, and I can understand why Sony is doing this, but in a way, it not pisses me. It makes me disappointed because the people that abused it. And you had people that just used the browser for the sake of just watching a movie through the browser or watching an anime. People on the other side abused it to a point where people who use the browser also had to report to Sony themselves because the people abused it. So the people who abused it, they basically ruined the fun for every person. To a point where now the browser is not on the PS5 and will not be on the PlayStation 6 at all either. But yeah. I'm gonna end the stream here. I'm gonna get me some to eat. And today, the rest of the day, I'm just taking time for the stream. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, depending on how I feel, because there are times where sometime I'll just feel pressure even though I'm usually not aware of it or paying attention. Because stress and pressure, you're never really gonna fully be aware it's there. You'll be aware when you start feeling certain, things that causes it. But alright guys, laters. And I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. Alright guys.